Just a quick word. Really proud of the response, collective response of this group. Obviously, we were extremely disappointed in the way we played the first half of the previous game, and we took a great deal of ownership in that from the moment we got back and got to work. So really, just proud. I thought it was led by our upperclassmen, which, as a coach, is obviously really encouraging for if that's going to be an indication of how we handle adversity here moving forward the rest of the year. It bodes well for us. So with that, yeah, any questions, fire away.
Just expanding on that, obviously you don't want to lose basketball games. You certainly don't want to lose them in the fashion you did at Maryland. But what can you learn about a team in those moments like that maybe you wouldn't be able to learn otherwise? And did you know how they would react to that, or were you still kind of anxious to see how they would?
Well, I think it's good to remember, obviously, the newness in our program right now. It's the first time that this group, I'm sure, you see it across college basketball every season. Teams have, bad halves, and I guess not just bad, really, really bad halves, right? We have yet, that was the first time, this group had to handle that together. And so I was really proud. I always believed, we would respond well because I know the individuals of this team, and we do our best, to simulate adversity in practice and all summer and fall. But it just isn't the same until you get in the game. And, I thought our second half response was when it started, and that was important. I think that's an important detail. We started to respond better, almost immediately in that second half, won that half, played, competed, played much more closer to what our standard is. Yeah, again, I'm really encouraged by the way our guys came out today. And I think, too, I want to say this, sorry, it's a little long-winded, but I think our crowd, specifically in the second half, was impactful in kind of helping us get separation. And then our execution and stuff at the end of the game was where it needed to be. So all in all, transitioning from that last game to this one was really happy.
Jay, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
This season, you've talked so much about your depth. Now, down Aaron, down Quez, down Colin. Austin seems like he's really stepped up, especially today. Can you speak on Austin and the state of the depth of this team right now?
Yeah, well, we still need to get healthy. And I think Austin Parks played his best game in an Ohio State uniform. And I told him that after the game. Sometimes I forget the lack of experience he got last year. And, he deserves a lot of credit because we coach him hard. And you saw today, I think you saw the extra work he's been putting in lately in ball screen coverages, right, and decision-making offensively. I thought it finally translated, in a manner which he deserved it to. So, his stay ready and just keep working kind of mentality these last, 10 days, couple weeks, I felt like really started to show today. So really happy for him to play the way he did.
To that point, on the defensive end particularly, if some of the bigs were guarding down low, it seemed like one of the guards would come over, and that would leave the opposite corner three open. Can you speak on how you're going to address that in the future?
Yeah, well, we wanted, going into this game, we felt like protecting the paint and really owning the paint on the other side. Like that real estate both ends was going to be critical to the outcome. And we had a couple breakdowns early where they got some easier looks from three than we would have liked, but we weren't necessarily taking some of those away with this specific game plan. So we adjusted quickly, because this was a little different. We've guarded the three-point line extremely well this year, and we felt like we needed to make an adjustment for this specific game in some of our schemes. But I thought, all in all, we were really connected defensively. Guys were covering for each other. We played with a great deal of urgency. That is a core principle of our program, and we did that on the defensive side tonight. today. Sorry.
Jake, you at bay for that second half where it's like anytime they got it to 7 or 8, like you seemed like you had a bucket, you had a stop. What did you see from your guys in those moments where if Rutgers was going to make a run, there was going to be in those moments, but you guys were able to keep them at arm's length throughout? Yeah,
well, I think if you go back to the Pitt game where we didn't do that right in the second half, we took care of the ball much better in the second half today. We knew that team was not going to go away. Steve, that coach program, they don't go away, right? He's tough. He's a really good coach. And so, and then obviously you take kind of his mentality, right, and his style, and then you couple that with just certainly 2 really, really talented players, and really some good pieces around them. We knew we couldn't let up for a second. So I thought the difference this game was we took care of the ball, and our offense, like we played complementary basketball. Offense helped our defense. Defense helped our offense. We were able to get some turnovers, and get out and get some easier looks. So I thought that was important and different than kind of what we had did a couple games ago.
You were talking about your team's depth a moment ago, and I thought this might have been, even though he only had 4 points, so this might have been Michi's most impactful game. I thought there was a sequence where he had a turnover, he had consecutive assists. He just seemed to be playing, even though the shot wasn't falling, more in the flow of what you wanted him to do. Was there anything different about the way he played today? What did you get from him?
I thought his mentality and poise, and I agree, I thought he was phenomenal today. And you can look at his points, and this may have been his lowest total points of the season, but honestly, he was phenomenal today, and he had an unbelievable read there in the second half where we executed a call really well, that 3 that Micah hit in the corner, and just I was really impressed. Really impressed. He's going to make shots, and really he's been really efficient from 3. His efficiency from 2 has gotten better. So I'm not. That's not a concern for me. I was just, and I told him after the game, I was really impressed with his performance today.
Yeah, Bruce was talking about the film session you guys had after the Maryland game, and he basically said that he couldn't really stomach to watch it himself and just watch it in the team for the team one. What was that, I guess, film session like for you guys? Like, was it really candid? Like, take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, it was direct, and again, we talked after the Maryland game, before we head back, and that, we weren't going to pretend like that didn't happen. We weren't going to, run from the issues of that first half. Like we were going to own it, both sides of the ball, the controllable things that we need to grow in. We watched them, and then we went and practiced with the urgency that you saw us play with today. And so, yeah, I would just say it was direct, and we took collective, all of us took collective ownership of what we saw, on the video, and then got to work.
Each of the last 3 times we've talked to Devin, he's mentioned we've got to get the ball to touch the paint every possession. It's almost like he's being told by somebody else he's got to say that so often. 46 paint points today. How do you feel you guys did getting the ball to touch the paint?
We did well. I think it's we are a very gifted, perimeter team, ability to make shots, make some tough shots, and I think we're also, you saw a mature group offensively, and we've had a couple moments. We had a moment in practice in the fall where we kind of had to stop and evaluate where our field goal attempts were coming from. And playing through the paint for us doesn't mean not shooting threes, but I just think we're too dynamic offensively to, if teams want to pressure us and take that away and give us driving lanes, we don't have to settle for tough perimeter shots. We can take advantage in the paint. It's certainly a strength for Devin, the physicality and the touch. That combination is really good. But, Bruce got downhill. Micah got downhill playing the paint. I thought Evan had a couple really good really good plays. We want to stay aggressive from three, a big believer in how impactful that can be for us offensively. But my preference would be those threes that come after a paint touch. I think the analytics behind that would agree. But we don't want to play, we want to play aggressively too. And we'll take good looks early in the clock, threes, twos, because, it's hard to score. I've said this before. It's really hard to score against Big Ten defenses over and over again in the half court. But I think we're buying into and we're seeing success when we do that.
Back to Austin real quick. At media day, he told me that when you got the job, you talked to him immediately and said, I want you to be part of this program. I need you part of this program for what we're going to do. He didn't get many opportunities last year, like you said, and he hadn't got a ton of opportunities this year. So as a coach, how proud does that make you to see him get big opportunities and really significant games and be pretty successful in them now?
Yeah, I think what I'm most happy about for Austin is there's been a different approach for him these last couple weeks, last few weeks, and that was validated and he got rewarded for that. So that's probably for me the best part about all this. He's an unbelievable young man who cares about Ohio State. I don't think you can have too much of that in this program. But, I also, and I've told him this, I believe that he's got the potential to be a good player. And, his lack of experience last year, has impacted maybe his growth up to this point. But, I got confidence in him, putting him in the game, and because he plays tough. I don't know how many. It felt like he was on the floor, 3 times tonight. He secured a couple loose balls for us and rebounds. 4 offensive rebounds. He competed. So he continues to do that with consistency, and I think we're going to continue to see growth from him. But that consistency, and he and I have talked about this, that's the biggest challenge for him, and I think he got rewarded for his consistency these last few weeks, got rewarded for that today.
Devin's gone from a guy that wasn't in the starting lineup. He's in ISO situations in the second half of a big game. I think about 16 of the first 22 points of the half. Is he becoming one of the best players in this league? What do you think?
Well, I think Devin Royal is a really good player, and we've always believed he was going to become a really good player. And he has earned the right to play well with the consistency that he's played with. I think he is a mismatch problem for certainly this league, but really anybody. And, I think he's playing with the maturity and confidence that is a directly responsible, in addition to his work ethic, directly responsible for his efficiency. I mean, his efficiency has been really impressive to me. And so, even when he wasn't starting, we viewed him, I think I even said this, we felt like we had more than 5 starters. But I think his rebounding, the other part that doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet is I think his defense has gotten better. And, we ask a lot of him. We ask him sometimes to guard on the inside. We ask him sometimes to guard on the perimeter. And in the flow of a game, he's having to execute different coverages based on maybe where he is positionally and who he's guarding. So I've been really impressed. It's hard to not be impressed and not go to his numbers, but I think the complete game that he's playing, the more complete game he's playing has been what I've been most impressed with.
Guy through practices and stuff where you're like, no, go, you're in there, go score, go shoot, quit passing it out. Has he ever been that kind of guy, or has he always been that way, or have you had to get him over a hump of go score, you can score?
Well, I think, transitioning from last year to this year, you saw at the end of last season him playing with more confidence. And he and I talked, immediately after the season about, I think he and I were aligned on what we thought this year could be for him. And I felt at times in the offseason he was really dialed in to getting there, and then at times, maybe he wasn't as dialed in as I would have liked. And the thing I love about Devin is you can coach him hard. and you can challenge him on that. And he's responded, since really kind of fall camp hit, like he has responded in the best way you would hope as a coach. And he and I have a great relationship. I have high level belief in him. I don't think he's done. I think he's like, I believe in him. He's a joy to be around. And he and I, from the standpoint of when we step foot on the practice floor every day, like there's an edge. And I love that about him. He practices hard, but he's got a joy to him when he walks in the building. He plays with physicality and toughness. You can coach him hard. Like he's really grown a lot. And what's most impressive tonight, right? We talked about his defense, but he was in foul trouble. And most players, that would have taken them out of their rhythm. And we had a lead, so didn't have to really play him to pick up that third foul. He picked up right where he left off. And I don't know if he could have done that last year, at the end of the season. So he deserves a lot of credit because he's worked for it.
Sticking with Devin, you called him a mismatch problem and talk about impressed with his efficiency, and obviously the work ethic, a lot of the mental stuff is coming along for Devin. But what does make him on the court such a mismatch problem in that ISO situation?
Some of the things that I saw this when he was in high school, played in the summer. He's got great feel. Like he just has a knack, around kind of elbowing in to produce. He's done it. I've said it. He did it in summer. He did it in high school. You're seeing some more consistency with his jump shot, which he's worked really hard on. But I wish I could tell you, like, yeah, it's all player development, right? I mean, I think certainly his buy-in to what we're doing from a player development standpoint has played a role. But he's just got kind of this natural knack and feel, organic feel in that space. And he's got great length. He's got soft touch. He's got a combination of soft touch and physicality that's pretty hard to teach, right? So a lot of that is a natural thing.
And then with Bruce, it felt like you guys early on, Rutgers takes a little bit of a lead, and it was a lot of Bruce in the first half kind of taking control, and 14 points in that first half really kind of set up the second half run that you guys went on and were able to hold the lead from there. Just was there an impetus early on to get Bruce going and let him take control of things and kind of get the team's feet underneath of it?
Yeah, before we left the arena in Maryland, I told him, I said, you can't wait to be aggressive. And it's very easy to tell Bruce to be aggressive because you trust him to make great decisions. Being aggressive doesn't necessarily mean shooting every time, right? But he does need to hunt. He needs to hunt his shot more in the first half. In the two road games, true road games we had, he wasn't as aggressive as we need him to be to start the game. And he certainly responded to that. But I didn't feel like he was forcing stuff either. I felt like he was just an aggressive, good player. And really, we want all our guys to play that way, And so when your leader, responds in a manner you would hope, it certainly helps set the tone for everybody else.
Along those same lines, just how nice is it to have a guy like Bruce on your team and not have to game plan against him?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's great. I think again, and maybe my favorite moment for him of the game, because I certainly expect him, to be a great player every time he steps on the floor, practice included. But my favorite moment of the game was I came over. I think I was talking to an official for a split second. The timeout huddle was forming. And I came over, and he's standing talking, right? So I sat down, and then he starts talking to me, and I just kind of handed him the board and said, hey, just draw it. Just tell us what you're seeing. And he and I have a great relationship. We got a great deal of trust in him, and I thought that was a fun moment for us. And I think the more that can continue to grow and kind of spread to other guys, will be a good thing too.
Speaking of good Bruce moments, there was a moment where he forced a steal and got out and flushed one in transition, and you were really excited over on the sideline. Were you more excited to see good defense lead to offense, or were you excited to see him get up and throw one down?
There was a little extra because I've given him a hard time about his lack of dunks. So there was some years of banter behind that celebration in that moment. It was a big defensive play, certainly, but it was, we have a little inside thing going on, when he gets dunks, which was good to see. I thought they asked the questions, Gary. You're not allowed asking questions, Gary. If that's all we got, I ain't answering that one, man. That probably won't be hard for anybody to guess, right? Anything else? All right, guys, thanks. Have a good rest of the weekend.